on this beautiful day in Spring Lake at Whispers of Spring Lake. I am joined today by the chef of the restaurant, Rick, and our winemaker, Scott, and we're going to be pairing these 3 wines. These are our What Exit line of wines with some of the dishes that Chef Rick is going to prepare for us today. We're really excited about that. And in addition to the food, we're going to be pairing the wines with cheese from Cabot Cooperative Creamery. So for the July edition of Virtual Wines, we're going to be featuring our What Exit line of wines, and these are the wines that are fully customizable. But in addition, we like to highlight a different charity every couple of months, and for July and August, we're going to be supporting Hometown Heroes. This is a great organization. It's actually not too far from here. They're headquartered in Toms River, New Jersey, but they do a lot to support different organizations and different causes all over New Jersey. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Mike Schwartz. He is the founder and CEO of Hometown Heroes. He came by the winery a couple weeks ago, and I got to sit down and chat with him and talk about some of the amazing things that they're doing.
My name is Mike Schwartz. I'm the founder of Hometown Heroes, and I'm here today at Old York Cellars. Big lover of Old York Cellars. As you can tell, I'm drinking the wine right now. Hometown Heroes helps people in a crisis, and simply we do that in 3 ways: financial assistance, professional assistance, and advocacy. One of the things we do is we provide a platform for people to step up and be heroes. We create a platform for someone to say, I'm a professional and I want to help this person who's having a unique situation. We have had, over the last 6.5 years, 10,000 people come through our doors. It's 2,500 families in need, and it ranges from anyone from a hurricane victim to a sick kid to a veteran to a homeless couple. We've done so many projects with so many different people to help them recover from a crisis that they may have had in their life, and we could not do that without the help of people like Old York Cellars. So Hometown Heroes itself was founded in 2008, and in 2014 we had a very unique situation where our office burned down and we found ourselves in a crisis of our own. So it's been a really rough year for us trying to recover and trying to rebuild, but we honestly didn't miss a beat, and we had our entire staff working the next day. It has been a little tough to try and put the pieces back together, but we're strong and we're resilient. But it was kind of unique to find ourselves in the same position that we're helping other folks with. And you know, we could use the help now more than ever just to get ourselves back on our feet and make sure that we can continue our mission to help people in a crisis. It's not always a monetary donation to get involved with Hometown Heroes. You can go to our website and sign up to be a volunteer. If you're a carpenter or a doctor or a plumber and you say, hey, I want to give my services, I want to make myself available to somebody in need, we'll pair you up with someone in your community who might need your services. And by all means, we may never call you if you sign up, but that one day when we ask you to step up and be a hero, that's a day when someone really in your community is in need of help, and we'll make that match so that you can feel like you can be a hero too.
Alright, so we're making a dish that we have here on the menu right now at Whispers, which is a Florida red snapper served with a lobster, mushroom, and spinach quinoa, and finished with a fresh herb and tarragon emulsion. We have mushrooms. These are shiitakes and oyster mushrooms. We have lobster knuckle meat. We have baby spinach, red quinoa, some fresh chopped herbs. This is some rosemary, some chives, some fresh thyme, and this is going to be our emulsion that we finish the plate with. So this is a side of Florida red snapper. All right, it's got bones in it. You have 2 choices. You can take the bones out with pliers, or you can do the easy way, which for these fish isn't a big deal because the bones stop about here, and cut a V into the fish. That's the bones. Take off the end of the tail. Take the fin meat out. And you want to score the skin, not too deep. The reason you do this is when you sear certain types of fish, the skin shrinks when it hits the pan. When the skin shrinks, it curls the fish. The fish doesn't cook properly. If you do this, that'll prevent that. So we got our saute pan nice and hot for the fish. and the quinoa. So for the quinoa, you're going to want to saute all the ingredients except for the lobster. The reason you don't put the lobster in now is because by the time the rest of the dish is done, you would have a very overcooked lobster. We're going to season this spinach and mushrooms with some salt and pepper. Next, we're going to sear our fish. I like to pick the fish up by its tail and slowly ease it into the pan. This way you don't burn yourself, and you can position the fish exactly where you want it. Now, I always keep a fish spatula handy. If you don't have a fish spatula, any spatula will do. But you want to ease the fish into the pan so that one, it cooks evenly, and two, the skin, all of the skin underneath the fish is being exposed to the pan. I'm going to turn the flame down a little bit on the fish so it doesn't burn, but it continues to cook. Next, I have a little bit of mushroom stock here, which I'm going to add to the pan for the quinoa. The reason we do that, so if you put the quinoa in a dry pan, it's going to burn up. So we put the quinoa in. We're going to add some fresh herbs to that. A little bit of butter. A little bit of stock. At this point with the fish, we still want to cook the fish skin side down. We can add some butter to the pan. Fresh herbs on top of the butter. And what we're essentially going to do is start browning the butter and basting the fish with the brown butter and herbs. What this does is the fish is able to cook from the bottom and the top as well. The pan is cooking the fish from the bottom, and basting it with the hot butter and herbs not only flavors the fish, but it allows the fish to cook from the top to the bottom. You only really want to do this with bass type fish, thinner bodied fish. Once the quinoa starts to absorb the stock and the stock starts to dissipate, you can put your lobster meat on top, but you don't want to incorporate it yet because just the heat from the quinoa will overcook the lobster. Almost ready to turn our bass. As you can see, when you start to baste the fish goes from the raw pink color into a cooked white color. I'll be very careful too not to overheat the pan, because if you do, you don't have brown butter, you have black butter, and black butter doesn't taste very good. Throw it in the oven, let it cook for a few minutes, and then we'll plate it. Alright, take the bass out of the oven. Nice and cooked. Flip it over. Nice browned up piece of fish. Some herbs on there. Go ahead and plate. Herb emulsion here. We'll go ahead and rest the plate with that. Just on top like that. That's it. Red snapper. In addition to the snapper, we've also prepared a mozzarella burrata, which is a sheet of mozzarella filled with cream and curd, and that's served with a garlic confit, roasted red bell peppers, fresh basil, and some fresh pesto as well. We also have a mixed green salad, which is dressed with a balsamic vinaigrette and served over yellow and red beets, topped with goat cheese and toasted slivered almonds.
Okay, so we can start with the salad. We've paired it today with the rosé. And Scott, you can just talk a little bit about the rosé.
The Wood Exit Rosé that I have, it's more of a semi-dry. It's only about 1% residual sugar. The reason why I did this is to keep it a little bit on the cleaner side, which makes it very crisp on your palate. That way you can pair it with these salads and different dishes, seafoods if you want to, and stuff. But it's a blend of the Chenin Blanc, and what I ended up using was the Cabernet for the color, to give it that pinkish color to it. When I went through all my samples and looking at different varieties of reds that I had, the Cabernet gave me the best color for this.
And nicely, in the red wine component, that cab component that you use in rosé really helps it pair really nicely with food.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be able to stand up to most everything that I think is on our plate, but we thought especially with the salad with the beets would be great. It's very good. I also really like it with the goat cheese. There's a little bit of goat cheese in there. I think the acidity in the rosé pairs nicely.
Yep. That's what I was looking for. The acid to really cut through on the balsamic as well. Very good. Everybody talks about strawberries with the rosés and stuff. This one here, it's got that acidity to it, so you're going to have that little bit of a strawberry characteristic to it. So it makes it very nice for the lighter dishes that we have here at Whispers. It goes very well with the salad. It'll even complement the fish, the red snapper that we have. But with the strawberry characteristics, it brings out the lightness to it and makes it very refreshing on a summer day like today.
It's perfect. You definitely get that the berry notes that you're talking about. It's light, crisp, but it's a perfect food wine. So in addition to the salad, we paired some of the wines with Cabot cheese. And for the rosé, we decided to go with the Farmhouse Reserve. This is a premium aged cheddar. And I think, again, this is really nice. It's nice and creamy. Similar to the goat cheese, it has like a nice creamy texture to it, and I think it'll pair nicely with the rosé.
Yeah, the creaminess with the acidity in the rosé cuts through on the creaminess. Very nice, very good.
And it has a little bit of a cheddar bite, but not a lot. I think it's blended and balanced nicely with the creaminess of the cheese.
Very good. Wow.
So the next one we're going to try is the Wood Exit White. This is a blend of Chenin and Cayuga, and we decided today to pair this with the mozzarella burrata, with the roasted red pepper, and cheese. We are going to be pairing it with Cabot's White Oak Cheddar. We thought this was really nice. It talks about it being sort of oaky and buttery, and I think that flavor profile will pair nicely with the white.
Yeah, the burrata is very creamy, which makes it very nice with the Chenin Blanc. The Chenin Blanc, I blended it a little bit with the Cayuga. The Cayuga has a little bit more acidity to it than what the Chenin does. Chenin is sort of a little bit softer, like a Sauvignon Blanc in style. So what I did with the Cayuga is I brought it into it just to bring up the acidity a little bit, just so that on a summer day, having a meal like this, it's going to complement it very well. Any of the mozzarella, any of the fat, the fatty, issues that we have here, it can cut through very nicely.
And this is, this is a white, but this white has some body to it. I mean, that Chenin in there and the Cayuga, it really could stand on its own with a lot of different things. I think it pairs nicely with sort of the buttery characteristics of the cheese as well. But it won't shy away from the balsamic that you put that Chef Rick put on the burrata.
And with the roasted red peppers, it's very nice because the roasted red peppers have a little bit of sweetness to them, and the white complements them very well. So with the Chenin Blanc, it has a little bit of the Cayuga into it, but the Chenin Blanc has a lot of body to it, almost a smoky characteristic to it. So you're going to have a little bit of the smokiness to it, but it's very clean on the palate.
It finishes clean, but it has a nice, long, lingering finish, which I think is sort of unusual for whites. Most people think white are just sort of very light and watery, and this one has a nice bit of body. Especially when you're doing like the wine competitions and stuff, they talk about your profiles, the acidity, the acid, and one of the classifications is your finish. And your finish is after you swallow, how long does the flavor last in your mouth? And this is a pretty good 5 to 6 on the scale. So the final dish that we have today prepared for us is a red snapper with a spinach and quinoa with a little bit of shiitake mushroom and lobster.
Yep.
And we've decided to pair that today with the What Exit Red, which is a Barbera blend. And we thought, even though it's a red, the snapper, a little bit sort of a meteor style fish, so we thought that the red would kind of stand up to it. Plus, I think this is a very food-friendly red.
Yes.
It's not sort of overly fruity or overly, really high in alcohol, which makes it so that it can pair nicely with food. And so I think this will be a really nice pairing with the red snapper.
Yeah. The What Exit Red with the Barbera blend, it's got a little bit of Barbera in it, it's got a little bit of Merlot, and it's got a little bit of touch of Cabernet into it. And what I do that for is to give it a little bit more roundness. So as classifications for the red, this is sort of goes on that medium-bodied style red. So with the dish that Rick prepared for us today with the mushrooms and the snapper is a little bit of a heavier fish, this is going to complement it very well just because it has a medium tannins onto it. It's got a little bit more of that smokiness characteristic to it, a little bit of tobacco on the characteristics to it, and a little bit of the blackberry on the nose.
And the cheese that we decided to pair with this today is Cabot's Alpine Cheddar. This was is a really great cheese. It definitely is nutty and smooth. It has a little bit more body to it as far as cheese goes. It has a little bit of the protein crystals in it, which are really nice. And I think this is just screaming for a nice red wine.
Yep, very nice, balanced.
Delicious. I think the other element that we didn't really touch on, which I think is perfect with this red, is the herbs. I definitely, when I bit into the quinoa and the snapper, I got that rosemary, a little bit of that thyme, and I think that from a pairing standpoint, that What Exit Red with the rosemary is great.
And I just had one of the mushrooms with the red wine. It was perfect.
Because sometimes fresh herbs can be a little bit tricky when you're pairing wines with them, but I think the What Exit Red pairs perfectly with that.
Yep. A little bit of oak on the red wine, not overpowering.
No.
Nice balance on tannins, very smooth.
Delicious, by the way.
Glad you enjoyed
Very
it.
good.
Everything is excellent. Thank you for joining us for our July edition of Virtual Vines. Thank you to Whispers of Spring Lake for providing some great food for us today to sample. And thank you to Cabot Creamery for having an amazing assortment of cheese that we can pair with our wines today. We look forward to you joining us again for our next edition of Virtual Vines. Have a great day.